Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and here is your detailed weather forecast update for Tuesday, the 16th of September 2025. Heaps to get through around Australia this morning. Strong storms in the southeast, more storms into the southwest, thunderstorm outbreak for Queensland and New South Wales, and rainfall still piling on into the Cape York Peninsula up in far north Queensland. We've got plenty to talk about, so stick around at the end of the forecast update. If you are brand new to the channel, please do consider subscribing, but let's get stuck straight into things this morning with a bit of winter weather to start things off. A large and powerful low pressure system in the Great Australian Bight is forecast to cause all sorts of wind-related issues, especially for Tasmania, but also by extension through parts of southeastern Australia as well, and particularly for New South Wales and Victoria throughout the course of today. If you have a look at the satellite picture right now, you can see that strong storm in the Great Australian Bight on the southern part of your screen here, and that's pushing some pretty significant impacts in towards Tasmania, but also in towards Victoria as well. Now, it's expected to be a stormy one today. There are severe weather warnings out for numerous locations in Victoria, New South Wales, but especially for Tasmania, and rightfully so. The wind observations really are beginning to highlight the fact that we are seeing a pretty strong storm. The strongest wind observations in New South Wales and Victoria, and the strongest winds, where the strongest winds are forecast to occur throughout this ongoing storm situation is, of course, into the Snowy Mountains and into the Victorian Alps. We're not expecting significant wind gusts to occur outside of the high country in either state. We still do have some strong, fresh, gusty winds occurring across some of the agricultural areas of Victoria, and especially into the central highlands of the state as well, but the real winds are going to be mainly into the high country of Victoria and into New South Wales. You can see Thredbo here at 55 out of the northwest, 54 at Mount Hotham, and I believe Mount Buller is at 39 here. So it isn't too windy through Victoria or New South Wales, and by extension, it's not too windy throughout either of those states, or it's not expected to be too windy throughout either of those states. It really is Tasmania that's expected to cop the full force of this winter weather system. Let's just jump straight into the forecast right now. As you can see, strong wind gusts forecast to continue across New South Wales and Victoria into the higher elevations, but it's going to be Tasmania that really does get throttled by this system, and that's going to happen later this morning into early this afternoon. We'll see the strongest wind gusts throughout the west coast of Tasmania. Strong winds persisting right through tomorrow, out towards tomorrow afternoon and evening, when they do weaken off a little bit, and then you can see winds die off a little bit, but then they return on Thursday and into Friday with another strong weather system, and then a big storm expected on Friday night into Saturday, and we've been talking about this one for the past 2 or 3 days now. This one could go through the Bass Strait, it could go into Victoria, or it could go into Tasmania, but either way, it's expected to be one out of 2 strong systems to come through this weekend, and I definitely would book it in right now that Friday, Saturday, and early Sunday are going to be very windy for Tasmania, and also by extension up in towards Victoria, pockets of South Australia and pockets of New South Wales as well. Definitely some rainfall and definitely some very strong winds expected at this point in time. A map that I like to look at is called the wind accumulation, which is the strongest wind gust in a selected period of time, and you can have a look at this here and see that the strongest wind gusts over the next 6 or 7 days are expected to be quite gnarly, especially through the Bass Strait and also across parts of southern New South Wales. Gusts pushing up to 115 or 120 kilometres an hour in spots. Over Tasmania, the mainland, the strongest gusts coming through today, and then again this weekend, pushing close to 90 kilometres an hour across the mainland, and then stronger wind gusts expected out here in the Great Australian Bight, as you would expect at this time of the year. This weather is nothing unusual, it's nothing out of the ordinary, but it is definitely going to be packing a bit of a punch, and some strong winter storms are most certainly expected. The one on Friday really does have my attention. That is expected to be quite a strong one indeed, and pushing quite quickly in towards southeastern Australia. It definitely is going to be quite an interesting one. Think back to the storm that we had about 10 days ago now, pushing through southeastern Australia. This one moved through and then became a bit of a cut-off low pressure system in the Great Australian Bight, or it might have actually been quite a while ago now. It could have been up to a month ago, but that pushed into the Tasman Sea, and that really went kaboom in the Tasman Sea. Not the most recent one, but the one before that. We saw some really strong wind gusts rounding out on the southern side of the system here, and as it moved through southeastern Australia, we had some really strong wind gusts on the mainland. I think that Friday, the weather system coming through on Friday, is going to end up being very similar to that, and I'll be able to show that to you in greater detail in the coming couple of days. But this does lead me on nicely into the next part of my forecast update, and this is that Friday, with this system here pushing forward and with quite a large leading edge frontal system expected to be attached to it, that's going to drag in some very warm air through Queensland, and especially in towards rural parts of New South Wales' northwest. And this could lead to a thunderstorm outbreak, a very early season thunderstorm outbreak on Friday night and into early Saturday. We could be seeing some decent thunderstorms around the border between New South Wales and Queensland, and maybe 1 or 2 thunderstorms into the northeastern corner of South Australia and the southwestern corner of Queensland. This is definitely going to be a bit of a time to watch, I reckon, Friday night overnight, we could be seeing some half-decent thunderstorms developing into this part of Queensland and New South Wales. Now, it's being pushed forward by a cold front, so that's typically the type of weather that we look at around this time of the year to see if we're going to be seeing thunderstorm development or thunderstorm chances through this part of New South Wales and Queensland. The majority of major thunderstorm outbreaks in October and November have something to do with cold fronts pushing or dragging in that warm air and really creating a Goldilocks zone for conditions for thunderstorms to develop. I would just like to say that this thunderstorm outbreak is definitely one to be taken with a heavy pinch of salt, and if you are planning on chasing it, you do live quite a way away. There's definitely no reason to be heading out there right now or booking it out in the calendar, because the convective available potential energy values right now are pretty poor for this thunderstorm outbreak. Even considering the time of the year when we don't have that much energy in the environment, this really is not a gold standard thunderstorm outbreak, that's for sure. The only thing going for this right now is kind of that driver with that cold front, and also the temperatures, which are going to get up to about 36 or 37 degrees through parts of southwestern Queensland. But adding to that, when we do see these really warm temperatures begin to fire up, you can see humidity values as well aren't expected to be anything too flash, dropping down to about 13% through this part of New South Wales. And by extension as well, considering that this is quite deep in towards New South Wales and Queensland, we're not anywhere near the coastline with these thunderstorms here. Whilst there is half decent mid-level humidity coming through, and that's actually partially due to the jet stream, which is going to be firing really strong, which means wind shear is going to be pretty healthy here. We're not going to be talking about anything too crazy in the way of humidity values around the surface level, so these thunderstorms will have a difficult time developing and maturing in towards severe thunderstorms. It definitely is not looking like a gold standard setup for thunderstorms, that's for sure at this point in time. But definitely Friday afternoon, there is going to be a chance of a few thunderstorms around Thargomindah, Windora, Charleville, Roma, and then across the border around Wilcannia, White Cliffs and Wanaring in towards New South Wales. Saturday will also present a chance of thunderstorms in towards the southeast corner of Queensland and the northeast corner of New South Wales. Again, I don't expect anything too flash to occur, but we may see one or two thunderstorms around Warwick and outside of Toowoomba, Chinchilla, Goondiwindi and Thallin in this little pocket here. Again, I do not expect anything too flash, and again, if we cross-reference the convective available potential energy values, whilst there are actually better numbers, all things considered, on Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon for this thunderstorm outbreak compared to Friday, deeper out in towards New South Wales and Queensland, the values aren't anything too flash at this point in time. There will be some good stuff offshore though. This is definitely the highest values and the highest readings that I've seen in quite a few months now for New South Wales. So exciting times for things to come, but this is just too early on into the season to have some decent thunderstorms for northern New South Wales or southeastern Queensland. It does look like a couple of thunderstorms are also possible around the border between New South Wales and Victoria, just over the border actually in towards New South Wales through Friday afternoon and evening, and then that will carry over in towards Saturday morning by the looks of things. I do think that it might be a little bit too cold for these thunderstorms here, but one or two good thunderstorms most likely around Hay, Griffith, Wagga Wagga, and then further inland out to about Ivanhoe or Mildura. We could see one or two thunderstorms at this point in time through Friday afternoon in this pocket of New South Wales, but I wouldn't be getting your hopes up again either for these thunderstorms. So the takeaway from this forecast here is, whilst they're now on the forecast and in a pretty dramatic way for this time of the year, thunderstorms that is, we're not talking about anything too crazy, and definitely nothing that I'd be dropping everything for to get out there and have a look at, that's for sure, especially the ones further out in towards Queensland. This could be a very hit or miss forecast. It is an extremely uncertain one, and the thunderstorms are pretty much a bang on 50-50 chance lying on that knife's edge of becoming a pretty good outbreak or becoming an absolute bust, and we're going to need a couple more days to really see what we are expecting out here. But it's going to be a very weak outbreak regardless. We're not talking about widespread severe thunderstorms. It's not going to be anything too special, so I need to be keeping on stressing that for everybody that's looking forward for thunderstorm activity as we head out in towards our peak storm season months of October, November and December, not too far away now. And pushing the forecast modelling forward, you can see rainfall accumulations there after not looking anything too flash across southeastern or northeastern New South Wales and Queensland. We're not talking about anything in the way of significant rainfall though, but on the topic of rainfall at least, let's head up in towards far north Queensland. Again, some great rainfall accumulations overnight in towards the northern parts of the state. It's basically rained all afternoon yesterday around Innisfail, and again with 115 millimetres in the gauge around Innisfail and a couple of locations picking up closer to 140 millimetres. Rainfall accumulations continue to exceed major forecast model expectations, and they have done for the last couple of days now. In fact, a few spots now have 300 millimetres in the gauge since last Friday, which is heavy stuff for September. That's nearly their average rainfall for the month of September through parts of the Cassowary Coast. So the wet season is well and truly underway, by definition at least, as per the Bureau of Meteorology classifications, around parts of northern Queensland, especially through the Cassowary Coast. And you can see from this imagery here, which is absolutely god awful, there is still plenty of shower activity moving through and towards northern Queensland, and more shower activity being pushed forward from the Coral Sea. Albeit it has died off a little bit in the last couple of hours, we're still talking about more rainfall and more shower activity throughout the course of today, and you can actually see throughout the course of today, we are going to be talking about more rainfall picking up once again by the looks of things through early tomorrow morning into early tomorrow afternoon before finally easing off later tomorrow night. Thursday, still a few showers expected to persist around the Cassowary Coast. Could be heavy at times through Thursday morning into early Thursday afternoon. A few light showers forecast on Friday, but then after about Saturday the 20th, rainfall really does pull away from North Queensland for at least a couple of days by the looks of things. You can see rainfall accumulations. Well, these forecast models really don't do the rainfall accumulation numbers justice because, again, they just cannot estimate rainfall accurately in the valleys that we do see up in northern Queensland. The rainfall seen up there is so intricate. So this forecast here we take with a heavy pinch of salt and generally double or even triple the numbers we're getting told here. And we could be looking at a further 100 to 150 millimetres in the next couple of days. I would definitely say that the bulk of the rainfall that has fallen up in far north Queensland or is going to fall in this week-long wet period has already fallen. We will be talking about some heavier falls still here and there from this point onwards. And they'll most likely occur today into early tomorrow morning. And the axis has been really fond of some heavier rainfall accumulations around Tully and Innisfail throughout the course of today. So definitely a bit of a one worth watching by the looks of things. You can still see rainfall accumulations forecast to be quite heavy on the convective forecast model. But yeah, the key takeaways is rainfall is going to continue across northern Queensland. It will be heavy at times as well across parts of the Cassowary Coast and even into the Daintree rainforest. A few heavier pockets are forecast to occur. But we're not talking about anything too crazy at this point in time. Definitely not true wet season rainfall. Widespread accumulations today will be between that 50 to 80 millimetre mark around Innisfail and Tully and then north towards Babinda and Fishery Falls. Further rainfall accumulations pushing close to 150 millimetres in the next 4 days are expected. Isolated falls to 200 millimetres are possible, and that could give us a week-long wet period with rainfall accumulations totaling between 300 and 500 millimetres through a few pockets of northern Queensland. Those are some big numbers for pretty much anywhere around Australia but far north Queensland. That is some stock standard stuff even at this time of the year, and it hasn't been enough to push rivers up towards the minor or even the moderate flooding alerts, which you would normally expect from rainfall like this in February and March when we do have flooded catchments up there. It's definitely given the rivers a good soaking, that's for sure, and it's cleared out any junk and debris that's fallen into them in the last couple of months. But yeah, a lot of these rivers have had a good flow in the last 24 hours, and some of them have even got close to the minor flooding alerts, but we're still not expecting flooding of any capacity or of any calibre to occur up in towards northern Queensland as a result of this rainfall event coming through. There's still some more showers still to come. You can see the Coral Sea looking pretty turbulent this morning. Heaps of cloud activity. The winds have died down though, which means the rainfall is going to begin to die down. You can normally tell how much rainfall is expected to come through from some of the wind observations here around the Coral Sea Islands. You can see Marion Reef, Flinders Reef are generally my go-tos, but also down here at Frederick Reef and Gannett Key, we can be seeing these winds have started to weaken down. They've pushed below 40 kilometres an hour again this morning, which means that rainfall is going to begin to pipe down pretty soon. And just to flip things on its head once again in towards southwestern WA, conditions looking a lot finer throughout the course of today, but we will see another cold front push through tomorrow afternoon and evening, and that's going to bring even more rainfall to what has been a very miserable winter across southwestern WA. You can see this cold front approaching the southwest Capes early tomorrow morning. It's not expected to be a strong one, crossing the southwest Capes around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then pushing through into the Perth metro area after about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. It's not expected to be too strong, but a few good showers and rain bands forecast to develop after around 10 o'clock in the morning, and then that rainfall does begin to peter out pretty quickly through Wednesday. And then Thursday starts off what looks to be some marvellous weather for an extended period of time across southwestern Australia. So have a look at this. Thursday, the 18th of September, nothing still out to around the 23rd, nothing on the 25th, nothing out to about the 28th or the 29th. And you can see the next cold front actually expected on the 29th of September here by the major forecast modelling from the Eastern WF, and it's expected to be a very weak one. So it looks like a dry period could kick off, which could persist for up to 10, 11, even 12 days across southwestern Western Australia. Super excited for it, except I'm going to be in Sydney for half of it, so absolutely spewing about that. But temperatures will rise. Have a look at this as we get out towards next week. This is Tuesday. Temperatures expected to get up, pushing close to 30 degrees for the first time into the Perth metro area in a while. Wednesday, 30 degrees once again into parts of the Wheatbelt. Even high 30s expected through parts of the Murchison region. So we are going to be talking about these temperatures beginning to rise across southwestern Australia. It definitely is that changeover period, and when it is not unusual to see a 30-degree day around this time of the year through the Perth metro area, it looks like that is going to be a possibility as we get out towards the later parts of September. Interesting stuff, that's for sure. Very excited for it, and I know a lot of people across southwestern WA are also going to be very, 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 very excited for some warmer weather. I am absolutely over the moon, overjoyed for it, and it is a shame that I'm going to be over in Sydney for it at this point in time. That's going to do it for a detailed Australian weather outlook. If you have enjoyed it or found it informative, and preferably both, then please do consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. A massive thank you to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now. And again, I will add the Facebook sponsors to the list as well at the end of the week. So if you're a Facebook sponsor, let me know in the comment section down below, and also go and check out the Facebook page as well. Plenty more happening over there. That is going to be all for me today. I hope everybody has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.